Breaking right now on Morning News Now, new leads in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Investigators looking into tens of thousands of tips from the public as the sheriff rules out the Guthrie family as suspects in the case. Now testing is underway on a pair of gloves that appear to match the one seen in surveillance video from Guthrie's home. We will have an update from Arizona. Also breaking this morning, remembering an icon, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, civil rights activist, Baptist minister, and two-time presidential candidate, has died at the age of 84. A look back at his life and the incredible legacy he leaves behind. Plus, nuclear negotiations, U.S. and Iranian officials meeting in Geneva for a second round of talks over Iran's nuclear program.
I think they want to make a deal. I don't think they want the consequences of not making a deal. They want to make a deal.
Also in Geneva, top Trump envoys mediating negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. We're going to bring you the latest. And here come the Blade Angels, Team USA's trio of star women figure skaters taking the ice today at the Winter Games. Plus, history on the track for bobsledder Alana Myers-Taylor, bringing home her first gold medal in her fifth Olympic appearance. And our own Savannah Sellers gets in the spirit of skiing in the Italian Alps. And as you can see, it does not involve any skis, just spritzes. Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer. As you just saw, Savannah is on assignment at the Olympics. We're going to begin this hour with the latest developments on the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. The mother of our NBC News colleague has now been missing for more than 2 weeks. Yesterday, the Pima County Sheriff took the step of officially ruling out the Guthrie family as suspects, calling any suggestion to the contrary, quote, cruel. Now investigators are waiting to see if DNA from a glove that was found just a couple miles from Nancy's home could be linked to the person seen here on Nancy's surveillance camera. This footage was captured the night authorities say she was abducted. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz has the latest from Tucson.
More than 2 weeks into the search for Nancy Guthrie, the Pima County Sheriff, for the first time, point blank ruling out any of the Guthrie family members, including siblings and spouses, as possible suspects, saying to suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it is cruel. The Guthrie family are victims, plain and simple. As the search drags on, investigators zeroing in on a single piece of evidence found 2 miles from Nancy's home. A discarded glove, the FBI says, contains unknown male DNA. A person familiar with the matter says unlike the other 15 gloves found in the search area, this one is consistent with the one seen on the suspect in the surveillance video. But how relevant it will be is unclear. No female DNA was found.
I think we need to use a lot of caution about jumping to conclusions with the glove. If there were other aspects of that glove that tied it to either Nancy or someone who's already been looked at as a person of interest, then it would raise very quickly in priority. But at this point, it's more like a Hail Mary.
Still, the FBI says they're putting the DNA from the glove into their national database. Another question, the suspect's clothes, like the mask and zip-up jacket.
The sheriff says it's possible that, like the suspect's backpack, the clothes were also purchased at a Walmart. He says they're currently working with Walmart management to determine who, if anyone, bought all or some of those items.
The sheriff is also hoping even more video could be retrieved from the other Nest cameras on Nancy's property.
You're working with the tech company still?
And yeah, we've asked them, and they're working as best they can.
Google, which owns Nest, has not responded to NBC News' request for comment about if they're working to recover more. President Trump weighing in on the case again, saying hopefully there will be a positive result. And in an interview with the New York Post, when asked if the DOJ would request the death penalty if Nancy is not returned alive, saying, yeah, that's true. This, as Savannah says her family is not giving up hope, pleading with her mother's captor.
It is never too late to do the right thing.
And the sheriff tells me that his investigators are actively working on that DNA sample that was taken from the home. They'd previously said it was not Nancy's DNA or someone close to her. So the big question is, who does it belong to, and is it a match for the glove or any potential suspect? Back to you.
All right, Liz Kreutz, thank you. In another development, a federal law enforcement official told NBC News last night that agents conducted a canvass of local gun stores several days ago as part of the investigation. It comes as the sheriff's office and FBI say they have fielded yielded around 40 to 50,000 leads in the case. For more, let's bring in NBC News law enforcement analyst Jim Kavanaugh. Jim, good to have you with us. We know the family has been cooperative in this investigation from the very start. How unusual is it for the sheriff to have to come out and just publicly clear them of any wrongdoing?
I think it's important, Joe, because I think the family's just being, tortured by people on the internet claiming that they're involved. It's just unseemly, and the sheriff just wanted to put an end to it. Look, people come up all the time. Of course, close family members, whenever there's a missing person case or disappearance or abduction, murder, whatever, you're going to have to look at those leads. But a lot of times they're very easy to check out. You can check out the camera at the home of the family. And there's the family coming and going just like they said they did at a certain time, and they never left the house. Well, it's not them. And so I think the sheriff is right. He's just trying to give them a little peace. People are wildly speculating. They don't have any kind of experience or analysis to say those things. It's wrong. It's not the family. The sheriff and the FBI are not looking hard at the family. They've probably done their due diligence, and they're not concerned about that.
Yeah, we've mentioned how so many people who are not mainstream journalists have descended on Tucson and are covering this and don't necessarily go by the same standards that we go by here in reporting. Jim, I also want to ask you about some of the evidence here. We heard the genetic experts C.C. Moore and Liz's story call the DNA on the glove that was found more of a Hail Mary. What do you think about that? In your view, what are the strongest leads law enforcement can follow right now?
Right. I mean, everybody gets excited about that. It's something to report for sure, and something to collect, and something to analyze. But it's just a lead. It's just a lead. A rubber glove could have been thrown by any workman anywhere. It's a mile or 2 miles from the house. We don't even know the way that the abductors egressed the location, so we don't even know if it's on the route. It's just a lead. It's a long shot lead. Now, as Liz reported in her package there, if the DNA on the glove matched DNA in the house, now you have a significant thing here, and it can be also, either way, it can be put into CODIS, which is the Combined DNA Identification System database, and if someone's in there, and there's only, people have been convicted of crime, sent to prison, many states submit to that database. So a small percentage of people, but people with criminal records, and that just means you interview the person. It doesn't mean they're the abductor. It just means you interview the person. We found this glove, your DNA's on it. Were you involved in this? Because it could be somebody totally not involved. So best leads, pressing on all fronts. You just reported on it. Gun shop leads. Did you see a gun like this, a holster like this? Did you ever see these guys? And then, the neighbors, the Nest cameras, digging that out, the DNA on the gloves, fanning out. More and more video, get more and more, because you can link the cars coming and going. So they have a lot to work on here. It's still fresh. It's only 2 weeks. It feels like 2 years because we're all agonizing for Nancy, but it's still pretty fresh. And witnesses' minds can be fresh here too.
Jim Kavanaugh, good to have you with us. Thanks for your expertise as always. The civil rights icon and former Democratic presidential candidate, the Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., has died. He was 84 years old. His family says Jackson died peacefully earlier this morning. In a statement, they wrote, quote, "Our father was a servant leader, not only to our family, but to the oppressed, the voiceless, and the overlooked around the world. His unwavering belief in justice, equality, and love uplifted millions, and we ask you to honor his memory by continuing the fight for the values he lived by." Today, co-anchor Craig Melvin has a look back at his life.
Legendary civil rights leader, Reverend Jesse Jackson, dying at the age of 84.
I'm human. I am God's child.
After decades in the public eye, watching a country change as much as he did, Jackson, born in 1941 in Greenville, South Carolina, was a young protege of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his life changing when King was gunned down in Memphis. Jackson, literally, there by his side.
It sounded like a stick of dynamite or a large firecracker. And when we turned, all we could see was police coming. Police were coming from the direction of the shot. They had been lined up along the streets.
It fell to Jesse Jackson and a small group of others to help keep the civil rights movement alive. the Baptist preacher known for his stirring speeches.
Repeat this. I am somebody.
Becoming a voice of the people.
Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
Jackson made Chicago his base of operation, starting what became the Rainbow Push Coalition, urging companies and politicians to improve opportunities for minorities. And he had his own political ambitions, launching a bid for president in 1984. The campaign marking the first time a national party had a major African-American contender. But the campaign was derailed when Jackson admitted using an anti-Semitic slur in a private conversation to describe New York City and Jews who live there.
However innocent and unintended, it was insensitive and wrong.
His apology at a New Hampshire synagogue helped him climb out of a deep political hole. He didn't win the nomination, but came closer after another run in 1988.
My right and my privilege to stand here before you has been won in my lifetime by the blood and the sweat of the innocent.
20 years later, a visibly emotional Jackson witnessing America elect its first black president, Barack Obama, a fellow Chicagoan. Over the years, Jackson used his considerable leverage as a statesman here at home to draw headlines around the world, joining the fight to end apartheid in South Africa, winning freedom for Americans held captive overseas, telling Today in 1999 he was always conscious of Dr. King's legacy.
The dream continues and the struggle continues, but every now and then we see flashes of hope. Inclusion leads to growth, and when there is growth, everybody wins.
In later years, Jackson facing multiple health issues, diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2017, hospitalized with COVID in 2021. But he remained involved in politics, leading Get Out the Vote efforts. And in 2024, he was honored at the Democratic National Convention. Applause for a civil rights icon who dedicated his life to keeping hope alive. Craig Melvin, NBC News.
In other news, in Rhode Island, police are investigating the motive behind a deadly shooting at a high school hockey game. Authorities say 2 people were killed after a shooter opened fire while players were on the ice yesterday afternoon. Authorities say the shooter is also dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Overnight, police identified the suspect as Robert Dorgan, who they say also went by Roberta Esposito. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda is in Pawtucket, where this all unfolded.
Tragedy on the ice.
We have shots fired, multiple people down at the Witch Arena.
A shooter opening fire at a high school hockey game in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, killing 2 and injuring 3 others, according to police. The chaos unfolding with players still on the ice, people in the stands scrambling to safety.
It appears that this was a targeted event, that it may be a family dispute.
Police say it appears the suspect died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, but the investigation is ongoing. A massive police presence seen sprawled across the parking lot, taped off, as a crowd gathered in the back lot near a school bus. Hockey sticks and skates in tow, some still in hockey jerseys. It was senior night.
This was an isolated incident in some ways. It's tragic.
The teams with players from multiple schools were playing at Dennis M. Lynch Arena, about 5 miles north of Providence. A community still reeling from a shooting that killed 2 students and 9 others at Brown University in December. 18-year-old Kevin Hernandez lives nearby.
It's so devastating, you know, to hear about something so similar happened 2 months ago over at Brown, and now some place that I pass by every day.
The Providence Bruins posting, "Our thoughts are with all those affected by the tragic events at the high school hockey game, leaving this close-knit community rattled."
Our thanks to Emily for that report. Pawtucket police say that they have not had any previous run-ins with the suspect, who was at the game to watch a family member. Authorities also say the 3 people who were injured in the shooting are in critical condition at a hospital this morning. U.S. officials are taking part in dual negotiations today, both with far-reaching foreign policy implications. In Geneva, American diplomats are meeting with Iranian officials for a second round of nuclear negotiations. In that same Swiss city, negotiators will also try to mediate a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. NBC News Washington correspondent Alice Barr joins us with more on these high-stakes meetings. Alice, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. The Trump administration taking on big challenges today on these two long-standing disputes. Iran heads to the table following intense protests that some analysts believe weaken its position. The Trump administration turning to foreign policy today with separate high-level negotiations in Geneva, Switzerland, on Iran's nuclear program and Russia's war on Ukraine. President Trump saying he'll be indirectly involved in the Iran talks.
I don't think they want the consequences of not making a deal. They want to make a deal.
The president sending a second U.S. aircraft carrier to the region ahead of the talks, ramping up the pressure on Iran to curb its nuclear program, as Iranian officials signal some flexibility in exchange for sanctions relief. The U.S. military buildup in the region follows Iran's violent crackdown last month on sweeping protests. President Trump asked Friday about regime change in Iran.
Seems like that would be the best thing that could happen.
He's also referenced last year's U.S.-Israeli bombing campaign that badly damaged Iran's nuclear infrastructure, suggesting further military action is on the table without a deal. In retaliation for any attack, Iran has threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz, choking off a critical global oil pathway. All as top Trump envoys tackle a separate challenge today, mediating negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. Whether Ukraine will have to give up territory remains a central sticking point, closing in on the 4-year mark of Russia's full-scale invasion. Ukraine's president urging allies to help force Russia to peace, as President Trump called on Ukraine to come to the table fast. And back on Iran, officials there have said they won't entirely give up enriching uranium, which they claim is not intended for a nuclear weapon. That, though, likely to be a hard line for U.S. negotiators. The top Iranian diplomat did meet Monday with the head of the United Nations nuclear watchdog to talk possible cooperation. Joe?
All right, Alice, thank you so much. Florida Republican Congressman Randy Fine is facing major backlash over Islamophobic comments he made on social media. Posting on X, Fine suggested that he would choose dogs over Muslims. Democrats and Islamic civil rights groups are condemning the comments and calling for Fine to resign. Since taking office less than a year ago, Fine has made a series of offensive anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian comments, but he has not been censured by Congress. NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz joins us now to talk more about this and some other political headlines. So, Megan, as we mentioned, Fine does have a history of anti-Muslim rhetoric. Just what can you tell us about this latest comment and the reaction it's getting from lawmakers? Is he likely to face any repercussions from Congress?
Yeah, good morning. So he's facing backlash for that comment that, as you mentioned, basically implies that he would choose dogs over Muslims. He wrote in a post, if they force us to choose, the choice between dogs and Muslims is not a difficult one. Now, he's facing a lot of backlash from Democrats who are urging him to resign now. And, you know, they're calling on him to resign. Take a look at what some of them had to say. Governor Gavin Newsom wrote, "Resign now, you racist slob." We heard from Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who called it genuinely one of the most disgusting comments I have ever seen issued by an American official. Representative Robert Garcia called it disgusting Islamophobia and dangerous bigotry. Now, it's hard to say whether he would actually face some sort of repercussions. The House is out of session this week, but we are expecting to continue to follow this to see what potential fallout could ultimately come from this. But in terms of actually seeing him resign, that seems unlikely at the moment right now, Joe.
All right, more to come on this, most definitely. Let's get to some other headlines. Looks like the federal government stepping in to try and protect the Potomac River following a major sewage spill last month. Tell us what steps are being taken here.
Yeah, so President Trump said in a post to Truth Social that he was directing federal authorities to step in to help protect the Potomac. This is after a Maryland sewer line collapsed in January, leading to millions of gallons of wastewater spilling into the Potomac. So he said in a post to Truth Social that he was directing federal authorities to immediately provide all necessary management, direction, and coordination to protect the Potomac. In that same post to Truth Social, he cast blame for the situation on Maryland Governor Wes Moore. Take a listen to what he had to say later that day.
I don't like the job that Wes Moore's doing. I don't like the job he's doing in the bridge. I don't like the fact that he did that horrible, with the pipes and the Potomac, and he's not doing the job. They got to do it, and I'm going to have to get the federal government involved in getting it fixed, because he can't fix anything.
Now, a spokesperson for the governor fired back, saying that it was the federal government that was supposed to be responsible for that sewer line. That spokesperson for the governor also criticizing the administration, basically accusing the administration of shirking responsibility when it comes to this leak here, Joe.
All right, from bridges to tunnels, we know President Trump appears to be downplaying some reporting by NBC News and others last week that in exchange for releasing federal funding for a new tunnel between New York and New Jersey, he wanted New York's Penn Station renamed after himself. He also repeated his opposition to the Hudson River Tunnel project. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, so this was in a post to Truth Social where he reiterated his criticism of this tunnel project between New York and New Jersey, saying in that post that the government should not be responsible for any cost overruns. Now, he's criticized this project in the past. In this post to Truth Social, he said that the government was willing to meet to make sure that these cost overruns did not happen. Now, as you mentioned, he said that the idea of renaming Penn Station was not raised by him. He said it was raised by others. It comes after NBC has previously reported that President Trump has asked Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to support renaming Penn Station in exchange for the federal government releasing these funds, Joe.
All right, Megan, thank you so much. In Georgia, the trial is now underway for the father of an alleged school shooter who prosecutors are trying to hold responsible for his son's actions. Colin Gray faces several felony charges in connection to the deadly shooting at Appalachia High School back in 2024. Prosecutors accuse Colin of giving his son, Colt Gray, an AR-style rifle that he used in the attack. 2 students and 2 teachers were killed. If convicted, Colin Gray could face up to 180 years in prison. NBC News national correspondent Aaron Gilchrist has the latest.
Prosecutors in Georgia making their case against the father of accused Appalachia High School shooter Colt Gray.
This is not a case about holding parents accountable for what their children do. This case is about this defendant and his actions.
The Barrow County District Attorney saying Colin Gray disregarded warning signs that his son would harm others, rising to a level of criminal negligence that led to the deaths of 2 students and 2 teachers.
7 months after he was told by Jackson County Sheriff's Office of possible school shooter threats and being asked to restrict Colt's access to guns, the defendant buys and gives 13-year-old Colt that Sig Sauer M400 as his Christmas present.
Prosecutors say Colt came to school with the AR-style rifle his father gifted him in his backpack wrapped in poster board. In opening arguments saying Colin knew his son had a history of anxiety, anger, and violence, and referenced this interview about threats of school violence with police in another county captured on body cam in 2023.
This is some serious stuff. I got no choice but to take it to work right now. But, yes, sir. But like I was telling your dad, if we find out otherwise, then it's a different story. But
it's a really different story.
And pointing to texts Colt sent his father just weeks before the shooting.
He sends this text message to the defendant. Whenever something happens, just know the blood is on your hands.
Gray's defense attorney trying to open the door to reasonable doubt, saying the accused shooter was deceptive and hid his plans from his family.
The evidence will show a teenager who is struggling mentally, a teenager who is deceptive, a teenager who hid his true intentions from everyone.
Colin Gray's trial comes 2 years after James and Jennifer Crumbly were convicted of involuntary manslaughter. Their son pleaded guilty to killing 4 at his Michigan high school in 2021. Colt Gray doesn't have a trial date yet. His father's trial is expected to last about 3 weeks.
And our thanks to Aaron Gilchrist for that report. Let's get a check now on your morning News Now weather. Those storms out west aren't letting up just yet. NBC meteorologist Melissa McGee is tracking everything for us. Melissa, good morning.
And good morning, everyone. That West Coast wallop does continue. That potent storm will continue to impact much of the West Coast. Intense rain, wind, and very heavy mountain snow will be on the way. As we head out on our Wednesday, that heavy snow will expand across the Great Basin into the Rockies, and some rain and additional snow showers will linger into California. As we move into our Thursday, there is another surge of moisture that takes aim at the West Coast. So more rain, wind, and snow, not only for California, but Washington as well. In terms of additional rainfall, we are anticipating right along the coast, we could find anywhere from an inch to about 2 inches of rainfall. As we head inland across the higher elevation, we could find anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of rain on top of what we've already seen. Now let's talk about that cold air and that snow. Sierra Nevada, locally, we could find 5 to 8 feet of snow, and this is going to be the forecast right through tomorrow. Now let's talk about that northern tier snow. A stationary front will bring rain and snow across the northern plains and warm winds from the northern plains up to the Midwest. This area of low pressure will continue to work its way to the east, impacting the upper Midwest, and that snow will expand across central New England. So how much are we talking about? We could find for upstate New York as well as central New England anywhere from 4 to about 5 inches of snow right through tomorrow. Potential records are possible across much of the high plains. I want to show you some of these numbers. For Dallas today, 77 degrees. By Wednesday, you're up to 80. Fort Smith, 70s for you on your Tuesday, upper 70s by Thursday, and that warmth will continue to expand and spread into the Midwest. We've got 72 for St. Louis on Thursday. Chicago up to 59, but look at Nashville, Tennessee. Tuesday, 69, and once we head into Thursday, we'll have temperatures in the middle and upper 70s for daytime highs. That is a look at your national weather. Now back to you.
All right, Melissa, thank you. Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, American skiing legend Lindsey Vonn back home on American soil after that horrific crash at the Winter Olympics. We're going to have an update on her recovery. Up first, developing news out of the Middle East, where Israel is tightening its control over the occupied West Bank. We'll be right back. We're back with news out of the Middle East, where the Israeli government is tightening its control of the occupied West Bank. The cabinet has approved measures to make it easier for settlers to buy land in the disputed regions. Israeli officials argue that beginning land registration for the first time since 1967 is an essential security measure, but Palestinian leaders are condemning the move, calling it a, quote, de facto annexation of occupied Palestinian territory and labeling it illegal settlement activity. Here to break it all down for us is NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley. He's in Tel Aviv. Matt, good morning. So an Israeli settlement watchdog group called Peace Now said the Israeli measure could lead to the dispossession of Palestinians from up to half of the West Bank. Just what does this measure do? How could it impact the possibility of a two-state solution?
Yeah, I mean, Joe, it's all wrapped up in a lot of legalese and bureaucratic discussion. But the fact is that what this decision does, also with another decision that took place about a week earlier, also not from the full cabinet, but from the security cabinet, so a smaller body, really does do more than any other decision from the Israeli government in several generations to tighten Israeli control over the West Bank. Now, that decision that you're talking about, the most recent one from Sunday, it opens up a land registry. Now, that sounds quite benign, right? Why is everybody up in arms? It basically will mean, according to Peace Now, as you just mentioned, that a huge part of Area C, which is now under full Israeli control, even though Palestinians live there and also provide some services like education and other things. This is military control by the Israelis in these areas. Now, this land registry means, according to Peace Now, that any Palestinian who isn't able to furnish proof that they own their land, that land will automatically go into a land registry and be available either for the state or available for private people to purchase, like Jewish residents here in Israel who want to expand settlements in the West Bank. And again, this comes a week after another set of decisions that also really extended Israeli control over the West Bank and really lengthened the menu of places where Jews here in Israel can purchase land in the West Bank. So we're talking about two decisions, both of which, taken together, really defeat the notion of a two-state solution.
So how is the international community and the United Nations responding to all this?
Well, we've been hearing a lot of statements of concern from European countries and from international groups and organizations. Strong condemnation from countries throughout the Middle East. And that's critical because the fact is that the Israelis have kind of gambled their diplomatic relations with their neighbors in order to extend their influence over the West Bank. This idea of annexing the West Bank has long been something that the Gulf countries, the Arab Gulf countries and other neighbors of Israel, many of whom have diplomatic relations, normalized relations with Israel, have said is a red line. And that's why this is such a gamble, because this doesn't actually annex the West Bank. These striking series of decisions just massively increases Israeli control over the West Bank and stops just short of that word annexation, something that President Trump had said he will not allow, in part because he's afraid of inciting the wrath of the Gulf states and preventing the furtherance of his Abraham Accords, which was his main, most important political legacy from his first term, and something that even Israeli politicians are desperate to see happen. They want to see normalized relationships with the likes of Saudi Arabia or Lebanon or Syria. This could really get in the way of that. And so that's one of the reasons why this is such a dangerous move, not just for Palestinians, but for Israelis as well.
All right, Matt Bradley in Tel Aviv. Matt, thank you so much. Staying with overseas news, it's out with the old and in with the new in China. Hundreds of millions of people are traveling for the Lunar New Year, known in China as the Spring Festival. And if you're still feeling the growing pains from the Year of the Snake, which is thought to be transformational, well, you're in luck. Today marks the start of the Year of the Fire Horse, which in Chinese astrology calls for intensity, decisive action, and excitement. Just be mindful of its potentially chaotic energy. NBC News International correspondent Janice Mackey-Freyer has a look at how the Chinese mark the occasion.
Every Chinese New Year, the world's largest annual human migration gets underway, with hundreds of millions on the move across China to celebrate the country's most important holiday. For most workers, it's the one chance they have all year to travel home. I have to make the most of it, he says. Eating New Year's dinner with family is a cherished tradition, along with lion dances, red envelopes with cash, and a widely watched television gala that this year featured hundreds of dancing humanoid robots.
A lot of preparation goes into marking the new year, from the decorations to the food, because the Lunar New Year is more than just a holiday here. It's a time to see family, to take stock, and to reset for the coming year.
And this is not just any new year. 2026 is Year of the Fire Horse, which, according to the Chinese zodiac, is a time for intensity and possibly upheaval. Astrologer Latao Wong compares it to driving a sports car.
It's about fast, movement, but at the same time, we really have to know how to focus on the road, so to speak, and how to balance ourselves so that we are driving the horse instead of falling off it.
So buckle up.
Absolutely, yeah.
That bit of cosmic nervousness highlights an uncertain economy here and could explain why for this Chinese New Year, young people are turning to mascots, like a crying toy horse that went viral after its smile was accidentally sewn upside down, or posters of the Harry Potter character Draco Malfoy, because the Chinese translation of Mara Fu includes the words horse and fortune. There's also been a rush to buy gold as a symbol of safety and good luck. Not confident in luck alone, Eric Zhang is doing odd jobs this holiday to make ends meet. Gigs like delivering New Year's messages to relatives or picking up decorations and hanging them for people short on time. For me, the New Year is about being together, he says. An estimated 2 billion people around the world are marking the Lunar New Year in different ways that heed the past and look ahead with hope that it all goes smoothly. Janice Mackey-Freyer, NBC News, Beijing.
Our thanks to Janice for that report, and Happy New Year. Coming up, dreaming big. New research shows sleeping on a problem could be the key to success if you can learn how to hack your dreams. We'll explain how it works in your weekly check-in next. I'm Noah. We are back with our weekly mental health check-in. This week, we're taking a look at new data on the link between social media and loneliness for college students, plus a surprisingly simple answer to that big question, What is the key to happiness? Board-certified psychiatrist and mental health advocate Dr. Somya Dave joins us now. She's, of course, also an author. Her latest book, The Guilt Pill. Dr. Dave, always good to have you with us. So let's start with that first study I mentioned a moment ago. We talk a lot about the impacts of social media on this show. Well, this new data suggests college students who use social media are more likely to feel isolated. Explain why we think that is and what all of us can do to just try and feel more connected.
So this study looked at responses from tens of thousands of college students across the United States, and 54% reported feeling lonely. Using social media for 2 hours a day or around 16 hours a week was associated with a higher chance of feeling lonely. Now, Black students, female students, and students who are living off campus also reported higher levels of feeling lonely, while those who are members of fraternities or sororities reported lower levels of loneliness. One thing I always ask when someone talks to me about loneliness is, can any online interactions be in-person ones? So if there's someone you're texting and they're nearby, can you instead meet for coffee? Can you instead meet for studying? Can you instead go for a walk? Because in-person interactions help us feel more connected. And if it is hard to do that because of overwhelm or stress or other factors, then seeking out the support of a mental health provider can go a really long way to exploring the layers beneath that.
Good advice there. We just have to make the time to try and make those connections and make them more meaningful. All right.
Absolutely.
Next up, neuroscientists at Northwestern, go Cats, are saying there might be a way to hack our dreams to boost our creativity. So how exactly does this work? I mean, could this lead to some therapies to just improve mental health in the future?
So this was really interesting. So researchers at Northwestern University had participants go through a series of brain teasers or puzzles, and while they were doing so, played different sounds. These participants then went to sleep. Researchers then, during sleep, played some of those same sounds. The next morning, 75% of participants actually had dreams that had elements or links to those puzzles, and 42% of those puzzles that appeared in those dreams were later solved. Now, the links are still being explored in the relationships and the whys, but I do know that creativity can have so many different benefits, and we've talked before about how sleep is so important. So combining those two, making space for them in our lives, can maybe help us a lot more than we think.
Sleep engineer, that could be a cool job. I don't know what it entails, but all right, finally, we've got a researcher and a relationship expert teaming up to crack the code on the key to happiness. Well, I threw my pen there. Problem solved, Dr. Dave. What's the secret here?
So the quality of our relationships determines the quality of our lives. Stronger relationships are associated with lower stress, increased resilience, better physical health, so many different benefits. Now, Sonia Lubomirski and Harry Reese explore this in their book, How to Feel Loved, and they talk about how loneliness can be hard on our physical and our mental health, and they recommend starting from a place of curiosity. Now, one thing I say in my private practice a lot is to be interesting, be interested. So if you're thinking of someone, reach out and say, I'm thinking of you. How are you doing? How is that work event? Do you have anything exciting coming up? What's on your mind? But it really takes small steps, not big, sweeping, grand gestures, for us to create and sustain meaningful connections that can help us have more loving relationships in our lives.
Connection, connection, connection. I sense a theme this morning. Dr. Dave, as always, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. Coming up on Morning News Now, facing the music, songwriters are sounding the alarm on the impacts of artificial intelligence on their industry.
When I'm in the room with another songwriter or with an artist, we're sharing experiences that we've gone through that I don't believe something that's not human can create.
When we come back, how some musicians are taking their fight to the nation's capital. Stay with us. Welcome back. As artificial intelligence makes its way into almost every profession, pressure is building on lawmakers to set new limits on AI when it comes to making music. Some Nashville songwriters took that fight to Capitol Hill, warning that without clear rules, AI could cost artists their livelihood. Reporter Braden Ross from our NBC Nashville affiliate spoke to one songwriter who says the technology is making it harder to get paid for her work and her ideas.
Songwriters like Jen Schott aren't afraid of changing technology.
When I got here, we were working originally on cassettes, and of course now we're doing voice memos on iPhones.
Because they know there are some things it just can't do.
You're losing that magic of the studio. When when I'm in the room with another songwriter or with an artist, we're sharing our stories, we're sharing experiences that we've gone through that I don't believe something that's not human can create.
But that won't stop AI companies from trying.
Once our creations are out in the world, being scraped by AI, learned, ingested, and then new songs being created with pieces of my song as a part of it, and then we're competing against those songs.
Enter the 4 Ps.
Permission, payment, proof, and penalties.
A set of principles the Nashville Songwriters Association International is asking lawmakers to incorporate into AI regulations.
We think AI systems should have to get permission from copyright owners to train on their works. They should have to pay for that training. They should have to keep track of what they're training on, and that, we should be able to sue when they don't do it right.
NSAI COO Jennifer Turnbow says there are some promising bipartisan bills in the works, like the Train Act, which would help artists know if their work is being used to train generative AI, and the Copied Act, which would allow creators to sue if AI platforms use their work without permission. She says lawmakers have been receptive to their asks, but some have raised concerns.
There's a lot of talk about, you don't want to fall behind other countries on AI, and licensing can take too long and be too hard.
But Turnbow says the music industry has always found a way to navigate changing tech, and AI won't be any exception.
Writing the best song that you can write is some days all you can do. And, I think as long as people keep writing these phenomenal songs, they will find a way. 7,500, oh yeah.
On Music Row, Braden Ross, WSMV4.
All right, let's get to some breaking news this morning on that ongoing media brawl for Warner Brothers Discovery. NBC News business and economy reporter Allie Canal has the details and some other financial headlines with your Money Minute. Allie, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. Brawl is a great word for that. Heating up again, the streaming wars, and this time Warner Brothers Discovery says that Netflix has granted it a 7-day window to hold new talks with rival bidder Paramount Skydance, which is trying to buy WBD outright with a hostile $30 per share offer. Now, Paramount says that bid is not its best and final, but for now, WBD's board is still backing the Netflix deal with a shareholder vote set for March 20th. And mark your calendars for another date in March. Apple is inviting media to a product experience on March 4th. This is taking place in New York, Shanghai, and London. It seems to be a more low-key event than its usual Cupertino keynotes. Bloomberg reports that Apple is gearing up to roll out several new devices in the coming weeks, including updated MacBooks, new iPads, and a refreshed iPhone 17e. NBC News has reached out to Apple for comment. And if you love a Trader Joe's run, more stores are on the way. The grocer says it's opening 8 new locations in states including Florida, Texas, and Louisiana as it continues expanding nationwide. Trader Joe's now operates in 42 states, still leaving a handful without a single location, at least for now. So, Joe, if you're in Montana, Wyoming, Mississippi, you are still waiting, but the company says it's surveying hundreds of neighborhoods. It plans to expand each year. So maybe if you're one of those forgotten states, one day
it's going to happen.
You could see a Trader Joe's.
I live 2 blocks from one, so I'm spoiled, I guess.
I'm not walking distance, but at least they're in my city,
exactly.
So I can't complain.
There you go. Thanks, Allie. Appreciate it. Coming up on Morning News Now, trading the skis for a spritz at the Winter Olympics.
Is après-ski only for people who ski?
Après-ski concept is for everybody.
Up next, Savannah takes us behind the bar in the Italian Alps to see how a special cocktail is getting everyone in the spirit of the games. We'll be right back. We're back now at the latest out of the 2026 Winter Olympic Games. Lindsey Vonn now back in the United States after spending more than a week in a hospital in Italy. She's recovering from a fractured tibia sustained while competing in downhill skiing. In a social media post this morning, Vonn wrote that she hasn't been able to stand for a week but is glad to be home and thanked everyone in Italy for taking care of her. Back in Italy, the U.S. women's hockey team getting ready for a gold medal match against their arch rival Canada after shutting out Sweden 5-0 yesterday. For more, let's bring in NBC News correspondent Jay Gray, who's in Milan, joins us with the latest. Jay, good morning. So we know 4 years ago, Canada beat the U.S. 3-2 in that gold medal match, but then we saw what the U.S. did to Canada just last week. So what are the chances Team USA grabs Olympic gold when they face off again?
Yeah, I mean, this team looks impeccable. What are the chances? I'd be wearing Team Canada gear as we talk about this, Joe. But here it is, the athlete's jacket. We're trying to show you some of the gear of the Olympics. You've got the patch here, the flag. You've got CAN for Canada on the back. But let's be expressly clear. This is all about Team USA, and this team is fantastic. They've only allowed one goal in the entire tournament. They've got a 5-game shutout streak going. That one goal was against Chechnya in the first round in the second period. Since then, nothing has passed the net. I've talked to a lot of people who know a lot more about this than I do. They say they believe this American team may be the greatest ever assembled in the history of Olympic women's hockey. They are that good, that fast, that aggressive, and a brick wall when it comes to stopping the puck.
They're super, just like Jay Gray, Superman there, giving us the shirt rip there. All right, history was made on the sliding track yesterday. We had 41-year-old Alana Myers-Taylor. It's her 5th Olympic Games, but she finally has her first gold medal. She was already the most decorated Black Winter Olympian. So where does she rank among competitors now? How much does this mean to her?
Oh, my gosh. To see the emotions pouring out of this woman who is such a role model, such a strong competitor, raising 2 kids with special needs, and doing it all while competing at the highest level. It meant the world to her, she said. She said, I finally broke through. 41 years old, 2 40-year-old women on the podium at the end of the monobob. That was great to see, with Katie Humphries taking home bronze. But for Alana, it's just magic to see what she's been able to do here. The gold was so elusive, never had it. Now she has 6 medals. She is tied with speed skater Bonnie Blair for the most medals ever for a U.S. woman in the Winter Games. And she just is somebody who you look at and you see all that she does and the way she handles things. And you say, that's what an Olympian is. That's somebody who trains hard, lives a good life, and that's somebody that I'd love for my kids to emulate. She's amazing. The ultimate Olympic story. You're absolutely right, Jay. Before we let you go, we have to talk about figure skating. They are known now as the Blade Angels. They're going to make their Milan debut today. They're getting a little help from Taylor Swift now. They're looking for the individual medals. If any one of them wins, Jay, just how big of a deal is that going to be? I think it's a huge deal, Joe. This is the biggest event, the premier event in the Winter Games. Everybody focuses on the women's singles. They've got 3 shots at making the podium. Look, this is a tough competition. We saw it in the men's side, and so they've got to bear down and focus. I think everyone very excited to see how these 3 young women do as they come out tonight and start things off.
No kidding. And the men's competition proved anyone can win. All right, Jay Gray, good to see you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Now let's get a behind-the-scenes look at one of the best parts of skiing in the Italian Alps, and it actually has very little to do with skiing. It's called après-ski, which literally means after ski. Our own Savannah Sellers teamed up with NBC News correspondent Sam Brock to check out what goes on after you hit the slopes.
Here in the Italian Alps, the actual skiing is only part of this day. Après-ski, the party after the skiing. It's all about friends and fun, but also fashion. Mauro Guresco in Cortina caters to the stylish.
What would you say is the key to dressing for après-ski?
You have to be casual but chic. And they have plenty of options for that.
Okay, this feels very me. And casual chic.
Welcome to the Super G Cortina.
This is the place to be seen after a day on the mountain.
Is après-ski only for people who ski?
Après-ski concept is for everybody.
Do the Dolomites bring something special to après-ski?
Yes, it's amazing view.
And the cocktails are pretty amazing too.
Why is the spritz good for après-ski?
It's a style of life.
Here, they have a specialty, the Chinar Spritz, with a surprising ingredient.
It's a liqueur with carciofo.
Artichoke.
Yeah.
Look at that. Moment of truth. I like it.
At this party in the clouds, the energy is as high as the elevation.
Sam Brock's going to keep it going for us from a different part of the Alps. Salute, Sam.
Salute, Savannah. And you know what? You're right. I am feeling kind of frosty right now in Livigno, but I have just the thing, a Bombardino, the cold weather cocktail conceived right here in Livigno, known for its golden hue.
Egg, Irish whiskey, milk, and cream.
And at Bivio Bistro, the eggnog-esque drinks counteracting the chill.
Cheers to you. Enjoy your Olympiad. Bomba. Like this.
But the good vibes rise high into the mountains, where we uncover a paradise named Caminel. Valentina Roca says here you can bring your skis and carve in the quality time.
So you keep your ski boots on, you dance with your ski boots, and then you go back skiing maybe for a few rounds. An open sky disco.
The resulting party puts the exclamation point on a treasured experience in the Italian Alps. Here in Livigno.
And here in Cortina.
The spirit of après-ski is about so much more than just letting off some steam after the slopes.
It's about spending time with friends and, of course, the fashion that spans the Italian Alps. Assolutamente.
Our thanks to Savannah and Sam for that very tough assignment. That was a rough one there. Now, you may not be able to experience the après-ski vibes, but you can catch all of the best Olympic action on primetime in Milan, and you can make your own cocktail while you're watching. Hosted by Mike Tirico, starts at 8 p.m. Eastern on NBC, and of course, streaming on Peacock. Cheers to that. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Stick with us. The news continues right now. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is on assignment. Developing right now on Morning News Now, ruled out. The family of Nancy Guthrie officially cleared of any wrongdoing in her disappearance. The strong statement from Arizona law enforcement as the desperate search for answers enters day 17. Also this morning, tragedy at a high school hockey game in Rhode Island. The terrifying rampage. Authorities saying 2 people were killed, plus the suspected gunman is dead. More on the Good Samaritan who reportedly stepped in, risking their life to potentially save so many others. Plus, Team USA figure skating phenom Ilya Malinin sharing a heartbreaking new message to fans days after a Milan performance that shocked the world. We're going to take a closer look at the deluge of online hate and invisible battles facing many of our Olympic greats as their mental health struggles re-enter the global spotlight. And later in the hour, you could call it a cult classic of the stage, first premiering nearly 30 years ago, but it asked audiences one enduring question: can you really trust the government? Fast forward to 2026, when the explosive rise of conspiracy theories on social media is giving Bug a timely new life on Broadway. I'm going to go one-on-one with the production's first black lead, Namir Smallwood, who's funneling a world of misinformation and paranoia through a bold, fresh lens. Let's begin once again with the ongoing search for Nancy Guthrie. Today marks 17 days since our NBC News colleague Savannah Guthrie's beloved mom disappeared from her home in Arizona. Last night, the Pima County Sheriff released a statement clearing the entire Guthrie family of any wrongdoing, saying to suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it is cruel. Comes after a flurry of online speculation following the case. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz is in Tucson with the latest. Liz, good morning.
Well, hi there. Good morning to you. This is the first time that the sheriff has officially come out and cleared anybody as a suspect. Overnight, I asked the sheriff why he did it, and he told me that kindness matters and that he believes it's his duty to stand up and be a voice for the victims, in this case, Savannah and her family.
More than 2 weeks since Nancy Guthrie went missing, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos issuing a strong statement Monday, saying none of the Guthrie family members, including siblings and spouses, are suspects, saying the family has been nothing but cooperative and gracious and are victims in this case, adding to suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it is cruel. The Guthrie family are victims, plain and simple. The statement, a direct response to an army of so-called armchair detectives, internet sleuths who have taken an interest in the case and at times made up wild and often inaccurate theories about Nancy's disappearance 17 days ago, some of it fueled by erroneous media reports. Until now, the sheriff has been reluctant to rule out anyone since there's still no suspect. But Nanos tells NBC News he did it because sometimes we forget we're human and we hurt and kindness matters. I'm not going to sit in silence when others are attacking the innocent. And the sheriff telling KOLD 13 family members were ruled out as suspects in the first few days. We're also learning more about the array of tactics investigators have been using, including trying to track down Nancy through her pacemaker, according to the sheriff, and canvassing local gun stores, according to a federal law enforcement official. Another outstanding question, that glove found 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home that the FBI says contains unknown male DNA. While a person familiar with the matter says the glove is consistent with the one seen on the suspect in the surveillance video, forensic experts are increasingly skeptical.
Is this glove the aha moment that some people might be making it out to be?
Well, in my opinion, it's not, because it's really too far from the crime scene. I think my biggest question is, have they found DNA from an unknown male inside that house?
DNA was found on the property that, according to the sheriff's office, is not Nancy's or someone close to her. The sheriff tells us investigators are still working to determine who it belongs to.
And the sheriff also says they're looking into the possibility that, like the suspect's backpack, his clothes, like his mask, that zip-up jacket, that those items may also have been purchased at Walmart. He says investigators are actively right now working with Walmart management, and part of that is trying to figure out who, if anyone, may have bought all or some of those items. Back to you.
All right, Liz Kreutz, thank you so much. NBC News national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent Tom Winter is here with us again to talk more about where the investigation stands, where it could go next. Let's start with just this fact that we've had all these armchair detectives, as Liz mentioned, out there. And if anyone's raised suspicions about the family, it's been them. And the sheriff basically saying, no, it's not them. How important is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for people to understand how we got here. Of course, every missing persons, abduction, kidnapping, whatever it is case starts not with the moment the person disappeared from a timeline perspective, but from the last person that saw that individual alive. And in this case, it was the Guthrie family. Nancy had been over at her daughter's house for dinner. A family member dropped her back off at the family home. And so you want to know, what was that about? What was that like? What was going on there? So it's natural. Of course they went to the family. Of course they wanted more information from the family. Maybe there's something they had that they didn't know that could point to the person who did it. So that's all going to be part of the investigation. The sheriff has to say, look, we haven't ruled anybody out because, of course, they haven't solved the crime. Then the internet sleuthing community and the true crime community starts saying, looking into those statements and saying, well, aha, it must be the family. No. I want to be clear. Nobody who's been briefed on this investigation, who's involved in this investigation, has ever told me that there was a single piece of evidence that tied any member of the Guthrie family back to this crime. And so that's an important thing to keep in mind. Our reporting, just like hopefully good detective work, just follows the facts and follows the evidence. We haven't seen any of that here. And of course, when you see that online stuff bubble up, it can sometimes distract or be a detraction for law enforcement because they have to respond to it.
And another clarification from the sheriff also saying, we've never said Nancy's disappearance was a, quote, burglary gone wrong. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, there was a report about that. I mean, I think that the burglary thing was one of the few things that didn't get credence early on. They obviously have to keep an open mind to all sorts of motives, but there was nothing really of value taken from the home, starting with Nancy's cell phone. So it just doesn't seem to make sense. But they haven't gotten anywhere in terms of motive or the why for this. So it's impossible to say that there's anything driving them down a certain lane because there's no evidence that points that way. It doesn't point anyway. We don't know at this stage.
The sheriff also, of course, we know that the backpack appears to be from Walmart, but now also saying that the clothing worn by the man in the footage may or may not have been purchased at Walmart. Why is that key to this search?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked about it because, look, we know the backpack, the brand Ozark Trail is actually a private label brand for Walmart. We know that from their financial filings. So that means it's only sold at Walmart. Now, if the clothing might be from there, they're already getting the receipt data from Walmart as far as when that backpack that you're looking at was purchased, the one on this individual's back, when that was purchased from Walmart. Now, if you go back and you can identify the clothing and the mask and say, could that have been purchased at the same time? That would, of course, be an extraordinary clue, particularly if it was not purchased in cash. Even if it was purchased with cash, you still hope that there's a video of that person in the store or a vehicle or something like that that, again, could significantly help you with this case.
All right, Tom Winter, appreciate having you here. Thank you so
You got
much.
it.
The search for Nancy is, of course, deeply personal for all of us here at NBC News. Her daughter, Savannah, is such a special part of our Today Show family, our NBC family. But we've learned this month just how big that family really is, with our own friends and family and just total strangers coming up to us to say that they're praying for the Guthries and for Nancy's safe return. Experts say this fascination goes beyond society's fascination with unsolved mysteries. Many people feel a connection to the Guthries and can't help but think of their own families.
All my kids are absolutely amazing. So
they sure are absolutely amazing.
Love you, Mama.
For the better part of 2 decades, we have been witnesses to a blessed bond.
You know, Savannah, I'm so proud of everything you've accomplished in life, but nothing delights my soul more than watching you with your little girl, Vale.
A mother's unwavering love and a daughter's infinite gratitude.
I will never stop needing you.
Oh, it's an honor and a privilege. It really is.
A deep connection on full display.
Savannah has been part of people's morning routine for years. Their families start to feel like our families and friends. So when something happens to her family, it feels very personal.
Perhaps Hoda put it best on Monday.
The number of people who came up and said, one thing they kept repeating, which struck me, is she's like all of our moms.
Yeah.
She's like all of our moms.
Everybody's mom. That was the headline of a New York Times article this week written by Jesse McKinley, exploring why the search for Nancy is resonating across the globe.
A lot of us have aging parents who we're taking care of. And so there's just kind of a natural connectivity where you see these people on screen day after day and think about your own life and people that might be important to you.
It's a sentiment echoed in Tucson, where yellow ribbons and flowers serve as symbols of hope.
We all feel like we love them, or if we've taken them in as our own. And my heart breaks. And as much as she is close to her mom, that gets me too, because I've been very close to my mom.
And that is why so many people care so deeply about Nancy's disappearance.
It's this idea that the Nancy Guthrie is not just Nancy Guthrie, but she is actually standing in for a lot of people's parents, a lot of people's grandparents, people they care about.
And for so many people, that support continues to come in the form of prayer, from Sunday services to vigils, powered by one simple, important message: bring her home. Moving on to other news now, U.S. officials are taking part in some high-stakes negotiations in Geneva today with both Iran and Russia. The Iranian negotiations are aimed at resolving the long-running nuclear disputes between the U.S. and Iran. Meanwhile, the administration is continuing to try to negotiate a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons has the details. Keir, good morning.
Hey there, good day to you. Those talks between the US and Iran got underway today, led by the president's envoy, Steve Witkoff, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Mr. Trump, for his part, said he'll be indirectly involved and believes Iran wants to reach agreement because he doesn't think, quote, they want the consequences of not making a deal. But the US and Iran disagree even on the talks agenda. Iran wanted to focus only on a nuclear compromise in exchange for sanctions relief. And as the talks began, Iran initiated naval exercises in the Strait of Hormuz and has just said it will close that crucial oil shipping lane for a few hours, while its supreme leader threatening the US military, saying even the strongest army in the world can sometimes be struck so hard it cannot get back up. The US has one aircraft carrier in this region, the USS Lincoln, and a second on the way. The potential for conflict with Iran is escalating. Meanwhile, in the same Swiss city, Geneva, today, Russia and Ukraine were meeting to try to hammer out a peace deal. Those talks looked equally challenging.
All right, Keir, thank you so much. Civil rights icon, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, has died. He was 84 years old. In a statement, Jackson's family says he died peacefully earlier this morning, adding, quote, he elevated the voices of the voiceless, leaving an indelible mark on history. Jackson rose to prominence in the 1960s alongside civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. Jackson was standing near King when he was assassinated in Memphis in 1968. Following his death, Jackson vowed to keep the civil rights movement alive. He delivered stirring speeches as a Baptist pastor and founded the Rainbow Push Coalition, which urged people to improve opportunities for minorities. Jackson also ran for president twice on the Democratic ticket in the 1980s. In later years, Jackson faced multiple health issues. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2017 and was hospitalized with COVID in 2021. But he stayed involved in politics, leading Get Out the Vote efforts and continuing his life's mission of keeping hope alive. Going to check now on your morning News Now weather. More rain and snow are on the way for California. NBC meteorologist Melissa McGee has your forecast. Melissa, good morning.
And good morning, everyone. That West Coast wallop does continue. That potent storm will continue to impact much of the West Coast. Intense rain, wind, and very heavy mountain snow will be on the way. As we head out on our Wednesday, that heavy snow will expand across the Great Basin into the Rockies, and some rain and additional snow showers will linger into California. As we move into our Thursday, there is another surge of moisture that takes aim at the West Coast. So more rain, wind, and snow, not only for California, but Washington as well. In terms of additional rainfall, we are anticipating right along the coast, we could find anywhere from an inch to about 2 inches of rainfall. As we head inland across the higher elevation, we could find anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of rain on top of what we've already seen. Now let's talk about that cold air and that snow. Sierra Nevada, locally, we could find 5 to 8 feet of snow, and this is going to be the forecast right through tomorrow. Now let's talk about that northern tier snow. A stationary front will bring rain and snow across the northern plains and warm winds from the northern plains up to the Midwest. This area of low pressure will continue to work its way to the east, impacting the upper Midwest, and that snow will expand across central New England. So how much are we talking about? We could find for upstate New York as well as central New England anywhere from 4 to about 5 inches of snow right through tomorrow. Potential records are possible across much of the high plains. I want to show you some of these numbers for Dallas. Today, 77 degrees. By Wednesday, you're up to 80. Fort Smith, 70s for you on your Tuesday, upper 70s by Thursday, and that warmth will continue to expand and spread into the Midwest. We've got 72 for St. Louis on Thursday. Chicago up to 59, but look at Nashville, Tennessee. Tuesday, 69, and once we head into Thursday, we'll have temperatures in the middle and upper 70s for daytime highs. That is a look at your national weather. Now back to you.
All right, Melissa, thank you. Much more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including a focus on mental health in Milan. Star Olympic athletes grappling with the pressure to perform, and social media spectators who can prove to be just as unforgiving as the events themselves. First, though, after the break, fiery opening statements in the landmark trial of a Georgia father whose son is accused of carrying out that deadly Appalachia high school shooting back in 2024. But prosecutors say he should be held partially responsible. That is next. Stay with us. We're back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with a judge telling the Trump administration to restore an exhibit on slavery. NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz joins us now with those headlines. Megan, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. Yeah, let's kick things off in Pennsylvania, where a federal judge ordered that nearly 36 educational panels be restored at the president's house in Philadelphia. The panels, which referenced slavery, were removed because of President Trump's executive order that said museums should not have ideological indoctrination or divisive narratives. The judge wrote a scathing order basically comparing the federal government to the Ministry of Truth in George Orwell's book 1984. Let's go next to the Potomac River in the D.C. area, where you could say that number 2 is becoming the number 1 problem. That's because of the collapse of a major sewer line, which led to millions of gallons of wastewater flowing into the river. Now President Trump says that the federal government will step in to protect the waters. He also cast blame for the situation on Maryland Governor Wes Moore, but a spokesperson for the Democratic governor fired back, saying it was the federal government that was supposed to be responsible for the sewer line that collapsed, and accusing the Trump administration of shirking responsibility. Finally, let's go to the Department of Homeland Security shutdown, which does not show signs of a breakthrough yet. While the department shutdown continues, federal workers at places like the TSA and the Coast Guard will not get paid. President Trump told reporters that he'd sit down with Democrats, but he did not provide further details yet. Also asked by a reporter whether he'd still deliver his State of the Union address next week if the shutdown continues, he said yes. And that's a look at what is making news in politics this morning, Joe.
All right, Megan, thank you so much. The trial is officially underway in Georgia for a father whose teenage son is accused of killing 2 students and 2 teachers. The shooting happened at Appalachia High School back in 2024. Colin Gray is facing nearly 30 criminal charges, including 2 counts of second-degree murder and 20 counts of cruelty to children. He has pleaded not guilty. In opening statements yesterday, prosecutors said Colin is partly responsible for the shooting because he gave his teenage son the AR-15 style rifle used in the attack. The defense argues there's no way for Colin to have known what his son would do. Here's a little of what each side had to say.
This case is about this defendant and his actions. His actions in allowing a child that he has custody over access to a firearm and ammunition after being warned that that child was going to harm others.
You cannot hold someone criminally responsible for failing to predict what was intentionally hidden from them.
NBC News national correspondent Aaron Gilchrist and NBC News legal analyst Misty Maris join me now with the latest on this case. Aaron and Misty, good morning to both of you. Aaron, we'll start with you. This is the first case of its kind in Georgia, with prosecutors trying to hold a parent accountable for their child's alleged violence. What all did we hear in the opening statements yesterday?
Well, Joe, we heard from several witnesses yesterday who really helped the prosecution lay out what happened on the day of this shooting, both before the shooting, during, and after. We heard from teachers, law enforcement, even one parent on the stand yesterday. But you're right, this prosecution is really focused on the father, Colin Gray, and what he did or didn't do in the weeks and months leading up to, and years, as a matter of fact, leading up to this shooting. We heard the prosecution in the opening statements argue that the father should have known that his son was a risk, that he was negligent in not taking action and he disregarded the risk that his son posed because he was aware that his son had exhibited signs of anger and violence and anxiety, that he had been cutting himself, that he had destroyed property. All these things, the prosecution says, were signs that the father should have known not to give his son a rifle. And even pointed to a text message in the weeks before the shooting at that school, Appalachia High School, that Colt Gray wrote to his father. The message said, "Whenever something happens, just know the blood is on your hands." Now, the defense in this case is working to establish that reasonable doubt that we know has to exist in order for an acquittal in a case like this. I want you to hear part of what the defense attorney said in his opening statements about Colt Gray, the son. Listen.
The evidence will show a teenager who is struggling mentally, a teenager who is deceptive, a teenager who hid his true intentions from everyone, from his family, from his counselor, from his siblings, from DFACS, from law enforcement, and most especially from his father.
So the defense is laying the responsibility for this school shooting squarely at the feet of the son, the accused shooter in this case, Joe. And I think you're going to hear the defense over and over again try to present the father as someone who did not know specifically about a plan to carry out a school shooting, Joe.
So, Aaron, I mean, the shooting happened more than 17 months ago, and the son, Colt Gray, is still awaiting his own trial. He'll be tried as an adult for 4 counts of felony murder. Why is his father's trial happening first?
There really hasn't been a thorough explanation of that. We know that Colt Gray, the son, got a new attorney at the end of last year, and that attorney has indicated that there's some mental health evaluations that have yet to be completed. And so here we are more than a year and a half later, and Colt Gray is still awaiting trial. There's been some talk about potentially him pleading guilty to some offense, but that is something that is still in the offing as we wait for a trial date here. Joe, and I think it's worth pointing out that the father in this case is facing that second-degree murder charge, which is fairly unique in Georgia in that it only applies when a child has been killed, according to the law, as a result of cruelty to children, or in this case, criminal negligence. Joe?
Misty, let's bring you in here. So Colin faces up to 180 years in prison if he's found guilty on the charges against him. As we mentioned, this is fairly new legal ground nationally, totally new ground in Georgia. What does the prosecution have to prove here to try and get a guilty verdict?
Yeah, so as Aaron laid out, this is a unique second-degree murder statute that says a death occurred during an act of child cruelty, and that requires what's called a reckless disregard standard. So what prosecutors have to prove is before the shooting occurred, there were significant warning signs that he essentially completely ignored and created this risk to the school and the children that were both killed and injured in that school. So it's a unique statute, and it's all about what he knew before. And what you're going to see the defense focus on is, jury, you can't look at this in retrospect. Now that this has happened, okay, there were warning signs. It's what he knew before and whether or not there was this significant risk that he disregarded.
We can't help but think of 2024, Jennifer and James Crumbly. They were the first parents to be convicted of manslaughter in a school shooting. This one happened in Michigan in 2021. Are there differences or similarities between the Crumbly's cases and this one here in Georgia?
Yeah, so I covered the Crumbly cases. I watched them both all the way through. And what's significantly different here is the severity of the charges. These are second-degree murder charges that we have here in Georgia, as opposed to manslaughter, which carry a penalty of up to 15 years. So the charges here are significantly more severe. Keep in mind, these are different jurisdictions, so the law is a bit different, but there are some similarities. For instance, there were no storage laws in Michigan like there are not here in Georgia. Also, we're looking at that same time frame before the shooting occurred. What was known by the parents, and did they disregard what would be a known risk?
I'm curious, in the case here in Georgia, the fact that the son has not had his case yet or been convicted, does that make it harder for the case with the father?
Yeah, so this is actually a major difference also between the Crumbly case. Ethan Crumbly had already pled guilty in that case. So here we have another issue that there has not actually been a disposition as far as the shooter.
All right, Misty and Aaron, appreciate both of you joining us. Thank you so much. Coming up, we're going to head back to Milan and check in with Team USA in more ways than one. We're going to talk about the mental health crisis facing some star athletes, which was spotlighted by this weekend's heartbreaking performance from figure skating phenom Ilya Malinin and his sobering new response to the deluge of hate that he received for it on social media. That's next on Morning News Now. We're back now at the latest from the Milan Cortina 2026 Winter Games. Team USA's Alana Myers-Taylor captured her first Olympic gold medal yesterday. And when you add that to her 3 silver and 2 bronze medals from previous games, it makes her the most decorated American bobsledder in history. NBC News International correspondent Claudio Lavanga is in Milan and joins us with the latest Olympic highlights. Claudio, good morning. So Alana Myers-Taylor won her first gold yesterday. It's her 5th Olympic Games. Walk us through why her win is so historic.
Good morning, Joe. Well, that's right. Alana is a real veteran of the Winter Olympics. As you said, this is the 5th Olympics, Winter Olympics, and yesterday was her first gold, but she won 6 overall, and that makes her, as you mentioned, the most decorated U.S. women athlete in Winter Games history, alongside Bonnie Blair. But also that made her yesterday made her the oldest female U.S. athlete to ever win a gold medal in the Winter Olympics. So she has many more reasons to celebrate, Joe.
No kidding. All right, let's move on to the women's hockey team. Yesterday, they racked up a 5-0 win against Sweden in the semifinals. Time for the gold medal game, the one everyone was expecting. Tell us more about that.
Well, that's right. Unsurprisingly, Team USA is going to face Canada in the final on Thursday. Canada beat Switzerland yesterday. And, you know, this is the dream final everybody was waiting for, the U.S. and Canada. Since the U.S. Women's hockey has been in the Olympics, they always faced each other in the final, apart from once, still here in Italy in 2006 in Turin. Now, if you look back at the last time they faced each other in the final, that was back in Beijing 4 years ago. Canada won 3-1, but this time around in the group play, the U.S. beat Canada in a shutout 5-0. So let's look at the present and not at the past to hope in a good result.
Yeah, last week is a better indicator than 4 years ago, but we'll wait and see what happens here. Let's talk more about some of the anticipated matchups happening later today. We've got the qualifiers for the women's singles figure skating competition. We've got 3 great American competitors. What should we look forward to here?
Well, they call them the Blade Angels. Amber Glenn, Alyssa Liu, and Isabel Levito, and they will be trying to win the first medal in this event for Team USA in 20 years. And the first gold medal, hopefully, in 24 years. The last time was Salt Lake City in 2002. So I'll try to go and watch the event, actually. So wish me luck, too, that I managed to get in.
Good luck, good luck. And we know they've got the support of Taylor Swift now, so what more do you need there? Finally, we like to talk about curling here. There are a couple big matchups happening today. Claudio, just how is Team USA doing?
Well, early this morning, the Team USA in the men's curling, they lost to China, but they still have another game later on in the day against Italy. The women's curling team is playing right now against Denmark. The last time I checked, Team USA was winning 1-0, so hopefully they'll keep it going. But they are both well placed in the table. The men's are second in the table, women are third in the table, and the first 4 in that table advance to the semifinals. So hopefully, we'll see them both in the semifinals.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be the case. We're all curling fans now. Claudio, thank you so much. Stay with us. More coverage from Milan up next. Welcome back. With artificial intelligence on the rise, there's growing backlash in Hollywood against Chinese company ByteDance for its use of AI-generated videos starring Hollywood royalty. 2 major players, Disney and Paramount, have already issued cease and desist letters to the company alleging copyright infringement. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas has the story.
This 15-second Tom Cruise-Brad Pitt fight scene causing a big stir in Hollywood. Not because it's an exciting sneak peek from an upcoming blockbuster. This clip and several others posted to X by Irish filmmaker Rory Robinson, all completely generated by AI. They're nearly indistinguishable from a real movie scene. All thanks to Dance 2.0, a new model from TikTok parent company ByteDance.
It's scary good, and it looks like it's really Tom Cruise, and it looks like it's really Brad Pitt. It's better because it's bigger. It's better because it's seen a lot.
The tool allows users to generate ultra-realistic videos from simple short prompts. But just days after the release of Dance 2.0, ByteDance is already facing backlash. Major studios Disney and Paramount telling NBC News they sent cease and desist letters to the Chinese company, alleging copyright infringement. And the Human Artistry campaign, which advocates for responsible use of AI in art and media writing, the launch of Dance 2.0 is an attack on every creator around the world. In response, ByteDance telling NBC News, "We're taking steps to strengthen current safeguards as we work to prevent the unauthorized use of intellectual property and likeness by users." But the company didn't say what specific changes will be made. It's easy to see why Dance has Hollywood in an uproar. Online, people using it to generate things like their own scenes from the classic Pokemon TV show. Or an alternate ending to Stranger Things.
Then you made a mistake, because I learned to use it better than you ever did.
I think the thing that really is different here is the lack of any guardrails. If you have seen everything that a performer has done, and now you can reproduce that performer, that's the scary part now.
Most major players in the AI video field, like Google's VO3, prevent their users from generating content with copyrighted material or the likeness of famous people. OpenAI taking a different tack, striking a $1 billion deal with Disney last year that will let users generate videos featuring Disney characters. Everything from Star Wars to Mickey Mouse.
Balance is going to be, how can you keep human creativity and talent moving forward while actually still utilizing the tools in the way that's the most beneficial.
Hollywood trying to keep up as the rapid advance of AI is posing a threat. Chloe Malas, NBC News.
Let's go back to Milan. From gold medal highs to very public setbacks, 21-year-old figure skater Ilya Malinin, known as the Quad God, is at the center of a growing conversation about the mental demands of elite competition. He helped Team USA win gold in the figure skating team event, delivering a pressure-packed skate that sealed a one-point victory over Japan. In the individual competition, he wowed with a nearly perfect short program. But the free skate did not go as planned. Malinin struggled with his signature quad axel and other high-difficulty jumps, falling twice and finishing 8th. Since then, Malinin has been open about the pressure, sharing his thoughts on social media and speaking earlier this morning on Today. Let's take a listen.
You know, stepping on that ice, I definitely felt that amazing environment from in that arena, just so much support, so much energy. And going onto the ice, I really had, you know, a nice day, just excited to get out there. And of course, it didn't go the way I wanted to, but, you know, we can't look at that now. And all I have to do is just learn from my mistakes there and push to see how I can improve in the future.
For more on what it takes to compete under that kind of intense spotlight, let's bring in former skating bronze medalist, Olympic mental health ambassador Gracie Gold in Milan. Gracie, good to have you with us. We just heard a little of Ilya there talking about the pressure he felt. I'm curious, what is it you would want him to know right now? I'm not sure if you've had a chance to speak with him, but what's the message you would have for Ilya?
Yeah, I mean, I think he sounds, just even in that soundbite, he sounds like he's doing pretty well, considering, of course, it was a huge loss for him and everything online and just the pressure that he had going into this. I guess I would just want him to know that, you know, it's sport and sometimes you can do everything right and it still goes wrong, right? There are some days that just seem like they have to happen to us, but he has, you know, he's already had such a wonderful career and he's only 21 and he has such a bright future ahead of him. You know, when I spoke to him just briefly, I didn't talk about anything related to skating because I think in those moments, a lot of us wonder, like, what do you say? So I think we just talked about, you know, Winter House or Milan. I might have had some gossip to share with him. I just tried to keep it away from, you know, what everyone's asking him, which is, are you okay? What went wrong? I don't know if he needed any more of that from me.
Yeah, no, sometimes gossip's a good thing right there. That's a good time to bring up a little bit of tea going on there in Milan. You know, I mean, this is not the first time we've had this conversation. We know other Olympians, Simone Biles, Michael Phelps, Michaela Schifrin, the best of the best. They've all been very open about just the immense toll of these global expectations. You've described it as the aquarium effect, feeling like you're alone in a glass tank while the world is watching you. Tell us more about what that pressure does feel like in the moment.
The difficult part about, yes, the aquarium fact, or I think I might have once before called it, you know, like the zoo. Everyone's gathered around waiting for the lions to do something cool, right? We brought their families, they've traveled, and they're like, do something, you know, do a flip. And when it goes well, it's the most amazing feeling in the world, right? You've held an entire audience, right? Tens of thousands of people captive. Everything that you've trained for has come true. So those big highs, though, come with matching lows, right? The worst thing that anyone wants is to have a huge failure while the entire world is watching. Not only are you disappointed in yourself and you feel like you've let yourself and your team down, everybody just watched it. That's what I said. Is I think failing and letting yourself down is difficult, but while you're being perceived in arena and through all of these cameras by tens of millions of people watching the Olympics, it's difficult. It's a worse nightmare. I think for figure skaters, I still have nightmares where I've been at an event and I can't pull in, or like my skates aren't tight enough and I just can't skate. It can be petrifying. It's one of those things that you can ruminate over and just keep playing it, and it can stay with you, right? So the next time you get back out on the ice, that's kind of what comes flooding back, and that's what's so difficult about getting out to perform again, right? Everyone is just tapping at the glass, you know, waiting for, you know, something in the tank to do something cool. But for you, it's this really personal performance and it's a sport and everything. And we only get an Olympics every 4 years, right? So we've built this moment up over 4 years in our formative years, right? And then as an adult, it's not like we get, you know, Super Bowls every year. Olympics is once every 4 years. We have 7 minutes to show the world what we can do. And if it doesn't go well, a lot of times it feels like it was all for nothing.
Real quick, I want to ask you, because in 2024, you wrote that best-selling memoir about your challenges on the world stage. You're now a mental health ambassador for the Olympic Committee, which is so great. What does that role look like for you?
I mean, it takes a lot of different shapes and forms. I think what's most exciting about it is the willingness of the IOC to continue trying new things and making changes. I think for a lot of times, you know, like in the past, mental health, first off, most people didn't even really acknowledge it. You know, it was the same people that got a guy for everything, for your car, to put your flooring in. That's how mental health felt, was, you know, the NGBs and everyone at B were like, I think we have a guy. And now the fact that it is such a big thing, we have the Mind Zone, the, you know, 24/7 helpline, we have the welfare officers, social media. And also they're so open to making changes and adjustments and so focused on athlete feedback. And the fact that it's so athlete focused and almost feels athlete driven in a way is so exceptional. So I think here, you know, tried our best to put together the best thing as a mental health ambassador and with that whole team. And we're just mostly anxious for the feedback of what, you know, what we liked, what we didn't like, what we didn't care about, you know, what we want more of, and all of that. So that's what I'm looking forward to as we move on from Milan.
So many people are so grateful for what you're doing. Gracie Gold, thanks so much for joining us this morning in this important conversation. We appreciate it. Of course, you can catch Primetime in Milan tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern, hosted by Mike Tirico on NBC and streaming on Peacock. Get to some big financial headlines this morning. Apple tossing its hat into the ever-expanding video podcasting ring. NBC News business and economy reporter Allie Canal has your Money Minute. Good morning, Allie.
Good morning, Joe. Yes, a new venture here for Apple. The company announced it's rolling out an integrated video experience in Apple Podcasts this spring. This will allow users to switch seamlessly between watching and listening in the same feed. It's a clear play to compete with the likes of YouTube, Spotify, and Netflix as video viewership continues to transform the podcast space. Meanwhile, Elon Musk's social media platform X is facing new scrutiny in Europe. Ireland's data privacy regulator has opened an investigation into Grok, that's the AI chatbot built by Musk's company xAI, over allegations that it generated non-consensual and sexually explicit deepfake images. Regulators will now examine whether X violated the EU's strict privacy laws, and that adds to just growing global pressure on the platform here from all sides. And back on Wall Street, gold taking a bit of a dip after a record run. Prices briefly fell below $4,900 an ounce before rebounding slightly in early morning trade. Analysts say volatility has picked up after gold's sharp drop in recent weeks, but many banks still expect prices to climb longer term amid both inflation and geopolitical concerns. And remember, Joe, at one point we were well above $5,000 an ounce. We're not quite there anymore, but again, we'll see how prices continue to trade.
All right, Allie, thank you so much. Coming up, we're once again flipping the script with a critically acclaimed revival that's giving one decades-old story of paranoia, isolation, and conspiracy theories new life in 2026, and that's thanks in part to the production's phenomenal history-making lead, Namir Smallwood. He joins me next right here on set with much more on the bug that's sweeping the stage. This is Morning News Now. Time now for our series, Flipping the Script, featuring people on screen, on stage, and behind the scenes, shining a spotlight on diversity. Enter Namir Smallwood. As we celebrate Black History Month, Smallwood is making history on Broadway. He stars in the play Bug, which is earning rave reviews. He shares the stage with Emmy nominee Carrie Coon in a play that was written years ago by Coon's husband, Pulitzer Prize winner Tracy Letts. Now, Bug focuses on two characters who are vulnerable, who are broken, tumbling into a world of conspiracy theories. The issues explored feel especially timely right now. Paranoia, social isolation, and that overarching question, can you trust the government and the mainstream medical establishment? Smallwood is the first Black actor to tackle the lead role of Peter Evans, and that's giving the audience a chance to see the show through a different lens.
I don't have a lot of friends, but the ones I do have, I'm good to.
But you don't trust me.
Why do you say that?
Because you lied to me about having children.
How do you know that?
I told you I pick up on stuff.
I'm excited to have Namir Smallwood in studio this morning. Thank you for getting up early and being here. Congratulations on all of the show's success.
Pleasure. Thank you.
So it's called Bug because basically at first your character thinks the hotel room is infested with bugs, then you are infested with bugs. Put simply, how do you describe the plot to people of this one?
Basically, it's about two people who kind of fall in love, but one sees some things, you know, bugs or what have you, real or otherwise, and then the other person starts to see the same thing, and it's this idea of folie à deux. Two people seeing one thing, you know, at the same time, and
even if it may not even be there.
Exactly.
You know, I went into this show blind. I didn't read anything about it. But when I started to see these themes of isolation, they're getting bad information. They don't trust the government. They believe in conspiracy theories. And I'm thinking, well, this feels very of the moment. And then I find out it was written more than 30 years ago. But it does feel just incredibly timely in this time we're living in right now, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Because that's the genius of Tracy's writing of this play. It was something that was just like on the, you know, on the cusp of, you know, conspiracy theories 30 years ago, and now we're actually living in all of this stuff, you know.
It's
AI,
a world of disinformation, yeah.
Yes, it's great.
How did that contribute to how you prepared for this role? Because you did initially play this part in Chicago a few years ago, right before the COVID shutdown.
Yes.
So was it different preparing for it even now than it was a few years ago because so much has changed in our society?
Not really. I had to first start with the script, and which was Tim McVeigh. That was the basis of Peter. And then
Timothy McVeigh. The bomber, yeah.
The bomber. And then I did my own research as far as, you know, John Muhammad and Michael Dorner and other experiments done by the military, and, you know, and that informed a lot of stuff this time around, especially because a lot of stuff's come out, you know, that happened.
You mentioned other experiments by the military, and you can't help but think of Tuskegee with the experiments there, which is written into the script years ago, but you're the first black actor to actually play this role. I mean, in the past, Michael Shannon's played it a few times. There was even a movie in 2006 which starred Michael Shannon. But how do we see this through a different lens with a black man in the lead role here?
Well, I feel like the audience sees a person that is doing these, you know, these things, and it's a different kind of experience seeing a black man with Agnes, with this white woman in this little motel room. And it changes a lot of things, and people have a lot of misconceptions and things like that, you know, about what this relationship is and what he's doing to her or whatever. And you have to think differently. Like, this guy was in the military, and things happen to black people in the military. There's documents of these things, you know, so is it real? Maybe. Is it not real? Maybe. You decide.
That's kind of a mystery when you're figuring this out. You kind of assume that it's not real, that the bugs aren't real, but there's always this sort of question in the back of your head. Exactly. Well, maybe they're right. Maybe they are onto something here. That said, we feel empathy for these characters. Right. We don't look at them and go, oh, they've got problems, they've got issues, I don't care for them. You feel something for them. With that in mind, the audience, what do you hope they take away from this, especially in this moment right now where we live in a world that is filled with misinformation, that's filled with conspiracy theories? What do you want the audience to take away?
I want the audience to take away the fact that people are actually living through these things in real time, and these people aren't crazy. The information makes it seem like they're crazy, but no, people are looking for something. They're looking for answers. Why is the world like this? What are we doing about it? And you go through a rabbit hole, and it's like, some people can't get out of it. And that's real, that's really happening, and to have grace with people.
As a society, we need to be more understanding.
Yes. Right. Empathy.
Empathy. That's always an important lesson. Namir Smallwood, congratulations on the success of the show.
Thank you.
Bug is playing right now. It's been extended a couple times, and I believe right now it is playing through March 8th. March 8th at the Samuel J. Friedman Theater here in Manhattan. That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Please stay with us. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.